gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello. So give me 1 second, I have to fix something. Skype decided to throw me a real humdinger tonight, so there we go. Now you should see Chris on the screen, but you may not be able to hear him. So
which one, me or him?
Chris, right now we're just talking Chris. We're gonna bring Darin on in just a second. So okay. But they heard you, Darin, so but hang on. Darin, all right, we're doing things all sorts of weird tonight. This is not normally our gig of having people on, so
sorry for the problems.
Oh my gosh.
That happens.
I didn't break a leg, so that's good.
Oh, Darin, zip it!
Shh.
Okay. You know what? It's a clown show. Alright. So tonight. Alright. Look, I'm trying to figure out, because we got an echo on, because just the way things with Skype is working with, oh my gosh. That's hard. Alright. Darin, we have not brought you on board yet, so just hang on. Hang tight. Hang tight. I know it's hard. But I've got an echo because of the way that Skype now has to bring things in, and normally it's just Chris and I. And yeah, so tonight, not normally our gig, but tonight we are bringing somebody in to join us, and his name is Darin Buss. For those of you who watch any of our friends, he's usually the questions guy. He has lived in haunted houses, and he hails from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So, without further ado, let's just bring him on. All right. As soon as my stuff wants to catch up. All right. So I can hear you. All right, go ahead, Darin. Oh, shit. I look, it's a shit show on my end over here. I'm trying to make sure that we can hear you guys. So. Okay, hang on. They can't hear you. Hang on.
Oh.
All right, let's try that again.
Test 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, I think I can hear you now. Chris is
All
like
right.
laughing at me.
No, I'm not. I was like, yes.
Look, look, it's notoriously hard when you have other people join you to make sure you don't have like the echo and all that stuff. So.
Right.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I'll just be me. I am not being me. I have a wig on tonight. But that's because I was dyeing my hair and it didn't get the color I wanted it to. So, I like this anyways. I like this wig. So I went and bought like 3 more. All right. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm so sorry, Darin. But go ahead. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, so like Melissa said, I am from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Lived here my whole life, and I've had in the run-ins with the paranormal for a long time before everything came about with Raven Rose and Paranormal Buzz Radio and Vidi Space and stuff like that. So my first occurrence was when I was 7 years old, and back in the day, we were playing with Ouija boards, and we just didn't think nothing otherwise, and thought it was just a game, right? 7 years old, you're gonna think it's a game.
Yeah.
So, so the friends of mine, we went to the house, and we were down. I was down in the basement by myself. I ended up going with my parents by myself. So this basement's like a basement within a basement. Okay, so there's an outer layer of it.
Okay.
And then against the wall, there's this old-timey TV, which you got to physically turn on, and a gun rack behind me, and all this stuff, and the pool table. So I went downstairs to play pool by myself, like I normally would, and I had this weird feeling that something was just not right in the room, So I thought nothing of it. I'm just gonna play, whatever. Well,
wait a minute, you were by yourself?
I was by myself.
Oh boy. Okay.
So I was playing pool like a normal 7-year-old would play pool by themselves.
Holly says it's Milton Bradley after all.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Don't play with yourself.
This goes south real bad.
Oh boy, yeah.
And so anyway, this black and white TV, all of a sudden it just came on by itself.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go over and shut it off. So that's what I did. I went over and shut it off. And the whole time between that and playing pool, and way back in the corner was a tall lamp. And for some reason, I felt that lamp was moving on its own. And I'm like, this is just weird. This is actually just weird shit. And then next thing you know, and I physically unplugged the TV from the wall.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And next thing you know, TV turns back on again.
Huh.
After I pulled the plug out.
Huh.
And I'm like, crap. I'm like, I'm not feeling good here. I'm not feeling good here. But as I am, didn't think nothing of it. Whatever. So I kept on playing. And I had a pool stick. And when I was going back for a shot, next thing I know, I hit something that's behind me. I'm like, what the hell? I turn around, and that lamp was standing right next to me.
Oh.
It was 20 feet away, and the lamp was right next to me.
Wow.
I dropped everything. I ran upstairs.
And
That
this
was
was
it.
all when you were young? When you were 7?
This is when I was 7. That one day when I was, as I was a 7-year-old, just that one day out of my 7-year-old, year, that all occurred to me in one night, in one day.
Wow. And nothing
So-
happened before this?
Nothing happened before that.
Huh.
And I
Is
think
this
it's
place-
because it knew that we were playing with the Ouija board, and we just didn't know what we were doing. We never said hello. We never said goodbye. We just like, hey,
So
say yes
you
or say no,
You just took it out of the box.
Just
And
took
you
it
were
out of the
just
box,
checking it
playing
out.
around. Yeah, it was moving by itself and all this and that, and we were just joking around like, oh, how the heck is it doing that,
Wait a minute, so it was moving by itself, but you guys weren't touching it?
Right. So
Damn.
we were just like, what the heck is this? It's moving. I mean, we're asking questions, but it's moving. So, and we didn't have our hands on the planchette at all. It was just moving.
Wow.
So we were just like, well, whatever. We just went with it, thinking nothing of it. So
You're like, this is how it totally works.
yeah, right. I was looking at the board. There's a magnet or something that it's just like someone's pulling it with something, But no, nothing going on. It's just the way it happened, the way it started. So
is this
But-
place still up in existence? Or has it been-
yeah, it's a residence. It's a residence. They after that whole event happened, they end up moving out of that house because of a lot of issues going on with the house, obviously. And so I never heard anything more about it afterwards.
So I didn't mean to laugh at your situation, but Holly she's like, didn't read the note that said don't conjure demons.
No, I did not. We both.
Whoops.
So, I mean, yeah, I guess even if we were ready, we're like, whatever,
You may come home with more friends than you started with.
Right? Exactly.
Ouch.
So, later down the road, we were in an apartment once, and her bed was a wooden bed, and in the old time rooms, there's a marble flooring, right? In these old houses.
Yeah.
And this was a duplex, okay? So she was afraid to go in her closet, and one of these closets are you're on your knees, and you got to crawl in there that way. And she had a futon in the living room. So I'm like, well, how come you don't ever sleep in your bed? Why are you on your futon? And she goes, I'm afraid to be in my room. I'm like, why? Didn't really think nothing of it. And this bed has to take 2 people to move it, okay?
Oh, wow.
And because it's all wooden. So, all right, so we're sleeping on the futon. Next morning, I get up and I go in her bedroom, and then all of a sudden I look at the bed, and the bed's pushed out from the wall.
What?
And I'm like, did you get up in the middle of the night and move the bed? She's like, no. I says, this is why I don't sleep in there. The bed moves. I'm like, whatever, So we pushed it back. Another night came by, went in her room. Next thing you know, we walked out of the room, and then in the morning we walked back in. Here the bed's pushed out again.
So what color was the tile?
Huh?
What color was the tile?
It was like a marble flooring.
Yeah, it
was one of those old marble floorings that's in old houses back in the day.
Was
so
it
like
black
a black
and
and
white?
white?
Was it? I didn't hear you.
Like
Was
like
it
a
black
black
and
and
white?
white?
No, it was colorful. I mean, it was spotted and all that stuff, with dots all over the floor, and however they do fake marble flooring in the day. But it was just weird seeing that bed move like it moved. And then all of a sudden it was like, she woke up during the middle of the night and she was screaming. And I'm like, what the hell? I mean, it's like a loud scream, kind of like Amityville style scream, where she woke up in the middle of the night and screamed.
Okay.
Kind of like that. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then later we found out that a lady hung themselves in her apartment.
Oh, brilliant.
Right.
Brilliant.
Right.
Brilliant.
So
that's sad.
And that's the part where I saw my first orb. It was a big blue light. Okay. So this thing started at the baseboards, went up the wall, crossed the ceiling, came back down the other side, and just disappeared.
You saw this with your own eye, your naked eye.
My own eyes. This is at 1:30 in the morning. Because we were coming back from the bars and stuff. But I wasn't drunk or nothing, and I'm staring at this baseboard. I'm like, what the hell is that? Because it's so low, the lights and the cars coming past,
Right.
It's not going to shine up there and go right there to the baseboard. So
Investigator 101, what did you try to do to debunk it? So you just said, it's too high up, no headlights. What else did you try to... Did you...
Well, we, back in those days, ghost hunters and all them weren't even out yet.
Yeah.
So I just kind of questioned it, like, do you know that, I saw this orb in your house? And she's like, well, I've never seen it before. And she was just like, I don't know what's going on. This is what's all happening. So I said, okay, well, let's go downstairs in the basement and see if anything else was done with the property before this all occurred. So we went downstairs, and all of a sudden it's like on the east trough of where the heat and all that stuff goes through. It's painted in red, you will die, and this and that. And
what?
yeah.
Wait a minute.
So
was that there the whole time, or did this just happen?
the thing down in the basement?
Yeah.
I think that was there the whole time because we've only went down there once. But
And this was a shared kind of building, so an
it was a shared house, yes.
And nobody
Yeah, it
ever
was an
said
old-
anything about that to you guys?
No one said nothing about that.
Huh.
Nothing at all. We just found it kind of weird. And with me
Yeah.
living in an apartment and she's living in an apartment, I says, okay, why don't we just, buy a house together and just get out of this whole ordeal. So that's what we end up doing, is buying our house. So after we bought our first house, and this here is like a shared driveway, okay? So this was back in 2000 when we bought our first house. And this house was, again, a duplex. People lived upstairs back in the day, but now by the time we moved in, it was a single family home. So it was just, it was kind of eerie, weird stuff. We had just weird shit happen with that house too. We heard night pounding on the doors in the middle of the night. Granted, we lived across the street from a frat house, okay? So we're down by the college area where this house is. So 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you're going to have like knocks on your door. People forget where they live. That
I
type
was just
deal.
going to go there, Holly.
Or people puking in your yard. So we heard it, and it sounded like someone was taking like a 2x4 and going against my door. And my front door is a metal door. So I'm like, what the hell is that? And this, like I said, this is like 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I run downstairs, I grab my bat, and I run downstairs. And I was just about to open the door, because there's 2 doors between the main door and the house, because there's a porch. And I was just going to grab that door, and all of a sudden it stopped.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, go back upstairs. And so then about 5 minutes later, started doing it again. Run back downstairs, grab that door handle, and stops.
Of course.
I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So after the second time, then it didn't happen at all after that. So when I got up, I went outside to look at my door, and here I got 2 big dents in my metal door from somebody bashing it in. You know, and I looked at top from my bedroom to look down to see who's at the front door, and nobody was there. So
here's,
I don't know what the hell that's all about. So that kind of freaked me out.
Well, here's a question for you. Here's a question for you real quick. So going all the way back to when you were 7, and Holly alluded to this, and I smiled and I chuckled because I was like, yep, I was going to go there. Before the Ouija board, do you ever remember anything weird or off happening to you?
No.
No?
See, the problem I had is when I was growing up, I went through a lot of surgeries in the past, because I have a lazy eye, so to speak, and, you know, blind my eye and stuff. So they were doing surgeries, and at that point, they weren't sure if I was going to be able to see at all. Mm-hmm. And this is like going like maybe 2 years old or something like that. So maybe at some point at that time, maybe something happened to me, as far as I know.
Well, no, nothing like, well, that's a good, but no, do you recall anything paranormal or just, no, like, oh, what was that, or you had nothing that you can remember, really?
Not really. I mean, going to my grandma's house was always kind of weird going upstairs, but I just always got weird feelings up there. It was just a weird, eerie feeling, but nothing ever paranormal happened there or anything like that. Just never really had any experiences before then until that day at the pool table stuff. That was the actual very first time I ever had something ever happen to me like that.
And how old were you when you started having all your surgeries?
I was between 2 and 3 years old.
Okay. So there's a pretty big, but I mean, a lot of us don't remember what happens to us when we're super, super young.
Right.
Yep.
So that's, and something could have happened, or I could have had something visit me, as far as I know, when I was younger. Who knows? I mean, it could have happened, but to my knowledge, all this stuff really happened when I was 7 years old.
Right.
And then it just kind of moved on further on after that. So.
Well, the reason I asked is because I'm sure you've heard this, especially with Johnny Hauser, and Holly mentioned it, and it sometimes it's not a location, sometimes it's the person.
It could be. It could be.
Do you think
I might
it
have
was
had
a locations, or do you think that maybe you had something along with you, along for the ride?
It's quite possible I had someone along for the ride. I just didn't know it. You know, I mean, I never saw anything when I was little. Like, people or children are allowed to see things between the ages of, when they're a baby to 9 years old.
Yeah.
They're able to see spirits really easy. That's nothing like that has ever occurred to me at all. So, never had anything like that happen. Never saw anything. So that's just, yeah. I mean, it's a weird ordeal how something like that. You go through 7 years of your life, and all of a sudden, bam! This one day, this happened and this happened. And it's like, what do you make of it? And at 7 years old, you don't really think about that stuff, because I never watched any of those like scary horror movies or nothing like that when I was that age. I wasn't really allowed to watch any of that stuff.
I was always I don't know, maybe I was the weirdo kid back then. Like, I wouldn't say that now, but I think back then people probably, because I can remember one of my first memories is my uncle's funeral. And I always thought I was like 5 or 6, and turns out I was like 3, I think. And I was always just kind of fascinated with the other realm. And I did have things happen to me. And my first Ouija board was when I was in 6th grade. So I think it's really interesting how we all kind of go along these things.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of stories of people, living in a haunted house. This is how this got started, and this got started. And ironically, this is just how it got started for me.
So, you just answered my question. Are you into? No, just kidding. Because I was gonna. Okay, so what was the catalyst to get you to investigate? Was it all these things, and you're trying to figure out, and like, what took you so long? I guess, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but like, were you scared? Like, were you apprehensive, or were you looking for someone?
Probably a little bit of both. I was scared and apprehensive, and I just didn't know how to go about things back then, because, like I said, Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures, they didn't really come out until 2004.
Right.
And when they came out, me and her both watched them religiously when they came out, because we were both fascinated by it, and correlating with the problems that we had, and it's like, well, this is interesting, because we had this happen, and in our first house, like I said before, we had a guy that lived upstairs, and he died upstairs. But I didn't know that until we bought our second house. She told me, like, did you know that we had someone else lived in the house with us? I'm like, what?
Oh, wow.
She says, I saw him. He was an old man. And you waited 2 years to tell me?
Gee, honey, thanks, right?
So it's like, but then I kind of put two of them together. Like, okay, well, now that's maybe the big knocks are coming into the door. That was maybe him getting me up, trying to show himself maybe to me or something, Now,
did you ever investigate your house, your own place at that time?
No, we just didn't question things. We just kind of went about our business, and we looked at each other as like, okay, we know there's something not right about this house, and we just need to get out of here, And so we put the house up for sale. We were owning it for 2.5 years. Put the house up for sale, and the really freaky thing that ever happened to us in that house, and I kind of get shaken by this a little bit, because we had a for sale sign up. We were just up north to my grandparents' house, and we came home, and it's after 10 o'clock at night. We get in the house, it's just us two. We didn't have any kids yet, and next thing you know, I hear this crash, bang, and I'm like, what the hell was that? So we run outside to the front door, and here our sign is knocked over with blood all over it.
What?
What?
And I'm like, what?
Okay, so was there a chance that maybe a deer ran into it? Do you have deer around there?
No, not where we were. We didn't have deer. No.
Huh.
It's like if it wants to take the path that goes straight to the back, it's got to go into a fence. Okay, because I had a fence in the backyard. But we were down by the college and the city and all that stuff, and we're like,
Maybe a drunk frat boy.
Well, the thing is,
they do some weird things when they're drinking. Who knows?
The thing is, though, is we were only in the house not even 5 minutes. That's the weirdest thing. And we both looked at each other like, what the hell?
Wow.
You know? So at that point, we ended up selling the house within 2 weeks after putting it up for sale. Granted, we got out as fast as we could get out. And now led to the house that I'm in today. And ironically, with this house, this is a spec house, so we're the first people to live here.
Mm-hmm.
But we found out that a little girl died on a bike on the corner before the house was built.
Oh boy.
So I'm like, okay, here we go again, you know. So, but granted, nothing ever happened, you know, within the last, till 2005. Okay, so the room that I am in right now, my theater room, back behind me where you see my screen, I saw my second orb, and it was this big white light like this. Okay, all the lights in the room are off because I was having a migraine and I didn't feel good, but awake enough to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I saw the light start at the end of my screen, and it just came up like this, and just flew right off to the other side like that.
So it wasn't like a migraine aura or anything like that?
No, nothing like that. It was just like another regular orb. It was right on the screen, plain as day.
So nothing's happened in this house.
Nothing's
there was
happened.
a little girl who was killed down the street.
Down by the corner. Yep,
okay.
By the corner.
How many houses away is that?
No, it was right on the property.
Oh, so you're your corner house then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything eventful for the land?
Not really. It was just a vacant land, vacant spot on the whole block.
No indigenous native history. No.
Well, I mean, it's Winnebago County, so Winnebago is, you know, Indian.
Right.
First and foremost, but I don't know how much of the area is considered all Indian land. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it has anything to transpire from that. I really didn't dig deep far enough into that, to be quite honest. So, so yeah, that was my one experience in this household like that. It's just that orb. Now it's just like it's. I've talked to a few people maybe a year or two ago, and you know, they've come down in my basement. They feel like, hey, is somebody down here with us? I'm like, no one's down here with us. So there are people already feeling like there's other people in my house. You know what I'm saying? But my daughter, when she was little, she would tell me things like, yeah, I'm sleeping, and next thing I know, I see these people standing in my bedroom, and this little girl's going around in a bike, and they're just like staring at me. And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah. I mean, it's like, do you ever talk back to them? And I'm like, she's like, yeah, I say a little bit, but I'm scared. I don't know what else to say. And I says, well, how often does this happen? I don't know, once every 3 nights they come in my room and they just stare at me.
So this is still happening?
Not as of today, no. She hasn't said anything about that ever happening. That was when she was like in between 6 and 7 years old at that time. So,
and I think she's the same age as my daughter now, like around 11-ish, right?
She's 15.
Oh, okay. So it's your other one that's, yeah.
Yep. So the problem, now the thing that I have with my daughter is that she gets sleep paralysis a lot. And with sleep paralysis, she says she sees a lot of shadow people. They're hovering over the top of her. They're studying her. They haven't heard her yet. And the big thing that really shocked me, because I talked to Barry Fitzgerald about this, and you know, Barry Fitzgerald is from Ghost Hunters International. And I spoke to him about this. Like, hey, my daughter experienced this. And he's like, well, they are still able to see shadow people and stuff like that. And with her, she might have an energy that's drawing them to her, so to speak. The recent one was about a couple of years ago, is where she's like, I saw the top hat man standing in the hallway, just staring at me. And I'm like, so what? Like, yeah.
The notorious top hat man.
Yeah, what's that all about?
And I said, did he make his way into the room? She's like, no, he got to the entrance and he looked down and then he looked up and then that's where he stopped. Like he couldn't go any further. Like something was keeping him out of the room.
So Holly says sleep paralysis is part of astral projection.
And that could be.
What are your thoughts on astral projection?
See, I think it's possible. I think you definitely, even with dreams, I think you can do that and build yourself up to leave your body and adventure somewhere else and have a little deja vu.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I took a little journey last night. But I'm not going to talk about it because it was a private venture. But
yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's absolutely possible. I mean, Holly talks about it a lot on her programs and stuff. Yeah. And I'm interested in what got me so interested in it is by watching Insidious.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so by watching Insidious, I'm like, now you sit back, you're watching this movie, and you're watching how things are happening, and then you start thinking to yourself, can that actually really happen though?
So have you talked to your daughter about this? Have you asked her if maybe, or do you want to learn more about it? Like, what's your take on this? Talking to your kids about it.
I'd like to keep them kind of away from it. I don't really want to throw them into the loop. I mean, I say it's good that you tell me what's going on, what you see and what you hear, but until you're ready to understand as to what's going on, I'm not going to bring you into this loop of this realm,
So that's a good question. When do you think is age appropriate? This is a highly debated hot topic. When do you think is age appropriate, in your opinion? Because that's really what it all comes down to, is everyone's opinion, right?
Well, everybody's opinion is different.
Right.
Some start earlier than others. I mean, look at Madison Smith. She's 12 years old.
How about that? Hey, kiddo. We got one over here too.
Right.
Come here.
So I mean, as long as they don't get freaked out by it and they want to come by you and say, hey, this is what I see, but first and foremost, there she is.
Yep.
Maddie!
I dare I interrupt her game. Okay, you can go back.
Go back to your game.
It's up to you. I mean, you as a parent gotta be comfortable enough to talk to your child about it and see if they can understand it. And if they're not really ready to understand it, then you kind of gotta wait for them to catch up to you.
Well, don't you think that's kind of like a contradiction, though? Because, like, we acknowledge that kids, when they're younger, can see these things. But then we turn around and deny their knowledge of that, in a way.
I guess it's just sometimes with parents and with myself that it's just like, okay, I get it, but I really don't want you to dive into it a little bit, I'm not ready for them to learn about it and study about it until I think that they're appropriate age. Like, to me, 15 is more of an appropriate age, but the thing is that because they're more knowledgeable, they're in high school, they know a whole lot of stuff in the world now. They know what's going on. They have a vast majority of the world. Okay. Now, granted, Madison Smith learned this stuff a lot quicker than most people have. Okay. So she's very well knowledgeable in this stuff, and it's great. It's great that she knows how to do her stuff. So, I mean, once you get to that point when you're okay, and you know how to do your stuff, and you don't feel like you're going to put yourself in danger, you're not going to put your child's in danger, then I think it's okay to tell them, hey, this is what this is, and do you want to sit down and talk about it?
Right.
But I want to make sure that they can comprehend it, though.
So do you think, because like with Maddie, my daughter, I mean, we were sitting at my father's funeral, and she was sitting there going, oh yeah, he's right there, and he's with your brother, and I'm like, okay, because I'm not able to see, I have other things that,
and she she might have that gift to be able to see too.
Well, okay, so funny thing is that she can no longer, but I took that knowledge and said, okay, well, obviously you're aware of this, so I'm not going to back away from it. And plus, having a mom like she does, like with me, it's just one of those things that, it kind of comes to the territory. You're stuck with me, kid. I'm sorry.
Right. Have you taken her on your investigations at all?
Actually, we have. We've taken her, and so I know that I will get a lot of flack about this, but we were very careful. But, we took her to the cabin. We did not let her go in the rancher because we know how there's a residential kind of energy over there that's not the greatest. But in the same aspect, you can only, I believe you can only shield so much. As I got to give her the proper tools, and I have to teach her how to protect herself.
Correct.
And so I feel she's got a good fighting chance right now, and she did phenomenal when she was at the cabin.
That's great. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as, like I said, you're teaching her how to do stuff the correct and safe way that you know how to do to keep her safe and not have problems.
Right.
I see that's fine. An investigation that I went on to last year, they had a 12-year-old there.
Yeah.
And they were seeing shadow people. We're outside, and this whole big building's kind of shaped like a W version, it splits out so many different ways. And she was, I think that's he or she, I'm not quite sure. But she was standing outside, or he was standing outside. He was looking at the windows far away, and this is like during the daytime. And he's like, or she's like, because I have to say that because I don't know, I can't remember.
Oh no, it's almost past Chris's bedtime.
Cool.
And she's like, yeah, I'm seeing shadow people in these rooms over here in this wing. Broad daylight, she's seeing shadow people running up and down these hallways.
Well,
And so the guy that was putting on the event went outside, and he's like, well, yeah, I'm seeing them too. So,
well, here's the deal, though. I think, and this is just my opinion. I know, Holly, we miss you. You're gonna have to come back. We're gonna have to see you somewhere. I was so excited to see you. Holly said she was supposed to. That was actually the event. No, did we take Maddie? No, we took Maddie back in December. But I think, and another thing, as well as I do with kids, if you tell them not to do something, what do they want to do 10 times harder? Yeah.
Exactly.
And so now that I've taken her on an investigation, and she's watched things, she still wants to go, but she's a typical 11-year-old who's like head buried in her phone playing games with her friends. She's not obsessed with the topic at all. It's just like, oh yeah, my mom happens to do this. Okay. She's super proud about, what we do, and she thinks it's cool, but yeah, I think, there's that curious nature about kids as well. So
Right. See, my kids don't even want to watch any of that stuff. They're like, Dad, you're full of shit. You really believe in that? You're really gullible, I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll let you be like that. That's fine. They have their other interests and stuff.
right.
Believe what you want to believe.
Like I said, they're into games too. But ironically, my daughter did buy a book last year where to learn how to interpret dreams. So she's fascinated with that part of it. So I'm like, okay, well, that's good. At least if you want to read about it, learn it. Maybe you'll be a dream interpreter.
So let's see here. Not a whole lot of questions coming in, but Chris, was there any? Because I have a question for you, but I've been asking you a lot of questions tonight. Chris, did you have anything that you wanted to?
Let's see. So, what's the most interesting experience you've ever had?
Good question.
The most experience, being at 7 was the biggest one for me. But far as I've only been on 4 investigations. The first one twice, so really 3 different locations.
Where were those? Where did you go?
Yeah.
We were at the Greenville train station, which is about 20 miles north from me. That one used to be a funeral parlor, the longest, a brothel, a bar, train station. It had many different businesses in there. So, and with that one, we were in the basement, and you know the thing that burns the bodies or for cremation
Yep.
and stuff.
Crematorium.
Yeah.
Crematorium. Yep.
Right, that was still down in the basement yet.
Oh boy.
So,
Did you crawl in there?
No, I didn't crawl in there. There's like 20 people on this investigation, so it was quite crowded. Yeah. A lot of the investigations I've gone on have been crowded. It's just because of, we only get like 3 hours to 4 hours max for these investigations. So they're not very long investigations.
Right.
Yep.
But we were in the basement, and that one, he had a REM pod in another room, and then he had a REM pod at the top of the stairs, and they were both going off by themselves, which is kind of neat. And my wife was like, "What the heck's going on?" She couldn't figure it out. She's like, "That's a bunch of bullshit." Like, no, it's going off. No one's by it. It's going off. So, and then next thing you know, I was saying something, and her friend was standing next to me, and all of a sudden I hear this noise, and it's like, drop down by me. I got a freaking rock thrown at me. I'm like, okay, well, that's weird. And that was one of those weird things, I never really felt harm in that place at all, really. Didn't feel anything eerie. I mean, yeah, we had to sign waiver forms and all that stuff. Like, that's normal for all investigations,
Mm-hmm.
But that one there, like I said, the first time, that's where I had the rock thrown. The second time, really not a whole lot of stuff going on. So it was kind of quiet, And so then after that, we went to a place that's kind of way up north. It's about an hour and a half away, I want to say. It's in a little itty-bitty town, or I should say a township. It's called Leopis. So this house here was emptied. This gentleman bought it, and he realized that there's something not right with the house, like most people do, and they want to get rid of it, right?
Yeah.
So this company that I go on investigations with said, well, let's have an investigation and bring people in and get their point of views and whatnot. So when we got there, we're not allowed to go in the shed, and the reason is because they said there was a very menacing spirit in there that wants to hurt people. So even his own crew was not even allowed to go in there. So that was kind of like, okay, whatever. And then in the backyard, there's also 2 people that have been buried back there, because this house is way back in the early 1900s. So back in those days, they didn't really have cemeteries like we do today.
Mm-hmm.
They're all kind of makeshift and buried on your land. So with that, I was like, all right, well, this is kind of cool. And then, the way the looks of it is like, it kind of feels like the Amityville Horror House in a way, just the kind of way how you looked at it from the outside is really freaky. Like at the end, the house had eyes to it. So we went in, did all this stuff, talked about all this stuff and what's going on at the house. And so we went upstairs, and we were in this one room by ourselves, and then in another room they're having a spirit box session. So, and I was just kind of standing there and looking around. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go out by the stairwell and just kind of look downstairs as everything is else looking over here and looking at what they're doing and kind of stay in the middle, Well, at that point, I think that's the first time I ever got touched, because my arms started feeling weird and tingly, and I'm like, what the heck, my hair is starting to stand up on my arm, and it's like, this is weird, So never really thought nothing of it, but I think that's the point where I got touched. Now, how ironically, this house today is now being used as a bed and breakfast. So, yeah, I think that the people that put on the investigation, I don't think they're quite too happy that this guy turned this into a bed and breakfast, because he couldn't get rid of it,
Right.
But ever since leaving that place, yeah, my life kind of went a little downwards a little bit, health-wise. I was even starting to think that maybe I brought an attachment back home with me from that house. It was just kind of weird. I just didn't feel good. I was having a lot of, like I said, health problems, health issues. And my mind just kind of, I don't know, it kind of flipped on me a little bit. When something's like wrong with me.
Chris and I both know all about that.
Well, I mean, it's just
firsthand.
Like, I mean, when you something goes wrong with your body, now it's like I started questioning everything that, like, okay, this hurts. Okay, now that hurts. Or
well, you can't Google it. You can't Google.
No, I mean it was just weird, and it's just like I couldn't shake it, whatever it was, I just couldn't shake it, and I was just going through a lot of turmoil with myself and couldn't figure out what was wrong with me,
Well, here's a question for you. You have cats, right?
Yep, I got 3 of them.
During that time, did their behavior change any? And the reason I bring this up is, 1, because of your experience, and 2, I know when something came home with me, my cat was going off the wall. It was like she was chasing a fly around the house, and we're talking dead of winter. There's no fly in our house.
Right.
But also, one of our friends on here, Chris, he wanted to know opinions on cats or dogs' awareness of the paranormal. So I definitely can speak to that, but I'm curious to see what you think about that.
Well, I've heard of the cats that they kind of protect you more. I think cats are a good protective of knowing that something else is in the room with you, probably, and can sense it. My one monkey, his name is Monkey, and he'll stand in the middle of the room, and all of a sudden, I just catch him just staring off in the distance. I'm like, "What are you looking at?" And I'm like, "I don't see nothing," but he's still staring at something in a corner, but he's not moving. He's just standing there and just staring, like he's drifting off to sleep, So I'm like, I guess, is there something here? It does dawn on you, because sometimes cats do act strange. They do.
Well, yeah, I mean, cats are aliens in themselves, but we love them. But did you ever... So you did notice your cats are acting a little bit up, so you think that they can.
Sure, they can sense things.
But have you done anything to, like, when you come back from investigations, do you cleanse? Do you have any kind of prayer or any kind of thing to kind of say, hey, boundaries up, buddy? Like,
see, now that's the one thing that I've never done.
Okay.
And it was not really offered to have it done. I think to rephrase that, it probably was offered to have it done, but you had to pay extra for it.
Well, no, because it's okay. There's that. Yes.
Well,
but do you have a personal kind of thing to where you say, okay, when I'm done investigating, to make sure I don't have any hitchhikers, is there anything that you do?
No, I don't. I see, and that's at my end, that's my fault, because I don't protect myself at the end and say, hey, you can't come home with me. You have to stay here. I'm not allowing you to come with me.
Okay.
And now, being, like I said, for the last year or so, getting to know Paranormal Buzz Radio, Raven Rose, everybody else, hey, I'm doing something wrong here. I should be protecting myself. And that's where all you guys come into play, where I can watch and the techniques that you guys do and how you go about your investigations and how you cleanse yourself and all that stuff. That's all very important to me, and that's why I watch. I go into the Facebook Lives a lot, because to me, that's the best way I can learn, because right now I can't, there's nothing out for me to go investigate. There's nobody to go investigate with.
And Holly did. Holly said, I got to give props to Darin. He is very supportive, and he's very open to learn.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. If you want to be in this field, you have to learn. Absolutely. You can't just go to an investigation and say, oh, that's it, I know all of it, I'm an expert, and you can't tell me otherwise.
Now, okay.
That's bullshit.
This is a hot seat question. Do you think there's anybody out there, perhaps on television, that might act like that?
Oh, yeah.
We don't have to mention names because we know there's a favorite person in a lot of people. But
there's a lot of shows out there that I'm sorry, I have shut the tube off of watching paranormal shows. And the reason why I do that is because it's just everything's demons. Everything's demons. How
it's been
not
Hollywoodized?
Demons. Huh?
It's been Hollywoodized.
It has. And they're out there it's an entertainment to show you, hey, this is what I caught. And every investigation I go, I catch something, and this happens to me. I get possessed 100 million times out of every investigation. I'm that sensitive that I get possessed all the time. Nobody gets possessed all the time. That's a bunch of BS.
Okay,
I mean, if you're gonna get possessed all the time, then why do you go do that?
I don't know. Maybe some people like having multiple personalities. I don't know.
Maybe that's what I fear. That's what I fear. If I get possessed, then I'm putting somebody else at risk and at danger because I don't know what's going on.
Well, no, so I know we've talked about this before. We talked about it briefly. Myself, I am not of a majority faith. Spiritual, not religious. I was raised Baptist, but I don't align with those beliefs anymore. I know Chris is raised Catholic. You're probably not so much practicing Catholic anymore, but that's your belief system, right?
Yep.
And I know, Darin, that we've talked that you are Lutheran, right?
Correct.
So
Yep.
how does that play into your approach to the paranormal and your belief in all of these things? Because I know every person I've encountered with their belief systems have very fundamental beliefs about what is and what isn't. So how does that play into your approach?
Well, I keep it in my mind as, okay, I know what I believe. I keep it there. I don't let anything change my mind as to what I believe in, but I'm also not going to push that onto somebody else neither. Whenever I go to investigation.
We lost your sound.
I can still hear him.
Can you hear me?
I can.
It might be my headphones. It's my headphones. Hang on.
Okay.
Ooh, they died. Give me 1 second, y'all. And let me just switch real quick. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Nope, that's not what I want to do. It always happens, right? And it's kind of funny, interesting. It's like, oh, you want to talk about these things? Let's interrupt you.
They know they're talking about it, yeah.
Here, so I can't hear a word you're saying until I switch this over. Let's see here.
I know outside of that.
All right, now I can hear you.
Equipment. What is your favorite piece of equipment?
Yeah, I like the flashlight game. That's my favorite, because when you're taking a flashlight game, you're given the opportunity for it to show itself, ask its questions, and I know this gets a lot of pushback on it, because there's not a lot of people that agree with that. There's people that say, oh, that's a bunch of BS. You're making that thing go off, and you just have it just turned just a little bit, so anything that touches it's gonna go off, and that's when I'm like, no. I mean, I've seen enough Facebook Live shows to see it happen, see it done. I mean, Kelly McCarville, for instance, when they're at Melbourne, she does the flashlight game, and it's amazing how it all works. She's got these. I think it's the push button ones that she uses. So when you get the push button, now it's okay. Now it has to gather all its energy just to push that button and turn it on.
Right.
And you've seen it in Ghost Hunters too. They do that too in Ghost Hunters. I believe in the very first season of the new one with Grant Wilson and his new crew, they did it in a location. They had several flashlights lined up. So I like that system, because you can watch something do its job, and it's hard to debunk when it happens because you're not by it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, like I said, I mean, a lot of people like the ones where you turn it on that way, the rotary style. I like the push button style, because to me it's a harder feat to go by, you know.
So, Chris, I missed your question, kind of. Were you asking him what his favorite technique was? And this was...
His favorite tool, yeah.
All right. Oh, no.
Well, I
Chris
bought
is
a
frozen.
laser grid. I have a laser grid. I have a K2. I'm looking to buying a body cam.
Uh-huh.
So, I have a couple digital voice recorders. So, you know, I got all this stuff and a new item possibly coming in for under $120.
So here's a question. Once you get all this new gear in, where's your next place? And once this, lockdown that we're all encountering right now, and I don't want to minimize it because I know it's a challenging time for a lot of people, but I know a lot of us are itching to get out of our house. So,
I mean, I'm constantly looking for new locations to go to, or I can jump on and say, hey, I want to come and be a part of your investigation.
What's number one on your bucket list?
Oh, gosh.
Well, okay, what's your top 3? And they don't have to be in order, but where's
in order? Okay. Top, Amityville.
Okay.
Melbourne, and then the Axe Murder House at the Liska.
Okay.
Those are my top 3.
Chris and I were supposed to go there last time we were out there. We were going to tour it. Yeah, we had a lot of stuff on our bucket list from when we were out in Iowa, and we didn't make it happen. But that just gives us more reason to go back.
I mean, there's a lot of interesting places out there. I mean, a lot of interesting. The coin's got to be there, but I would love to spend the night at Alcatraz.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's just full of energy, and the history behind that is just nuts. I mean, not to mention they have a graveyard out there too. So, I mean, the whole place has got to be nuts. But let me ask you this: with the lockdown going on, and the spirits are getting a rest from everybody going and investigating all the time, do you think they'll be more wild when you get back to investigating?
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I bet you they're loving the break too, because a lot of these places that you go to keep getting hit over and over and over and over again. And, you know, sometimes I think that they just like say, really? Again?
Right, yeah.
I mean, have a break?
I mean, they're people too, even though we don't tend to think of them that way. But I think some of them might get lonely too.
And they could. How do you feel about people making new like equipment as far as like they want to try and catch a ghost? You know, stuff like that, like outside the box, instead of doing the traditional.
So the Faraday,
lights, the EVPs,
like the Faraday cages, like Tennessee Wraith Chasers.
Ghostbusters.
No, Tennessee Wraith Chasers is recently. They did a whole series on that, where they would try.
Yeah, they did one with I think a box is like full of mirrors and stuff.
Yep.
And they're trying to catch it through a mirror or something like that. But the thing is what are you going to do with it when you catch it? I mean, either A, you're going to take it out of its location, B, you're going to piss it off, and C, it might go with one of you and create problems at your house.
I think that brings up a whole other topic that unfortunately we're rounding the top of the hour on this. But you know what that brings up? We'll definitely have to bring you back on sometime and talk about that, because that also brings up a good point that I know that Raven Rose has brought up. Do we have the right to mess with? I mean, ultimately, it's their spirit and it's their choice of where they want to go.
Right. If
so
they want to be
right?
passed over, you got to ask them. They not always not want to be passed over,
or move them or what have you. Yeah.
Right. You're going to have to coexist with one another, set rules, set boundary rules that you can't do this, you can't do that, you know. But that's just my opinion. On the whole, I prefer Facebook Lives over the shows. A, number one, I can interact. B, I can learn a lot more than watching a show. And it's just, at times it can be boring, but that's what an investigation is.
Yep.
You know, people got to understand it. Investigations, 8-12 hours investigations, you may not even catch nothing.
Yep.
You know, so that's the realism of it. You got to understand. And when with the shows, they're not there for one day. They're there for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And combine it all into one show to make it an hour show. And people get this misleading information that, oh, you get this done in an hour? Can you come to my house? You know?
Right.
Sorry, it doesn't work that way.
Yep.
I mean, that's to me. I mean, that's the paracurious of my mind, and why I ask so many questions throughout these shows, the podcast, the Facebook Lives, all that stuff. It's two things. It's benefiting me. It's benefiting others that are listening to the show and getting that answer from that person. And it just makes me to be that much of a better investigator, whoever I team up with, you know?
So I have two questions for you as we finish up for tonight. And one I've asked you before, so I already know your answer on this, and you're going to chuckle as soon as I answer it. But I'll ask you that second. The first question is what advice would you have for somebody who wants to investigate or is starting out to investigate that's never done it before? What advice would you offer them? And two, the second question, you're known as the question guy.
Right.
Do you do it to ask for yourself, which you just covered, you said you did, but then sometimes do you try to sharpshoot and just see, like you already know the answer and you just want to see what people say?
Both. It's both.
Yep.
I want to put them on the spot. I want to see how they'll answer that same question. Because each person, each individual investigator has a different answer for each of these questions.
Right.
Not one is always the same. There are a few that are along on the same side of answering the same thing, you know, but it's a test for me because I want to know that person if they're real or not, you know, if they say who they are.
Right.
And I don't mean that to be an asshole, you know. I just do it just because for me. I want to learn. That's part of learning. This field, you constantly learn. You'll never end. Sorry, I got a drink. But
is that a spiked Mountain Dew?
no, it's not a spiked Mountain Dew.
I like a sugar rush and getting inebriated.
But what I'm trying to get is that people need to just understand that I want to learn as much as I can learn possible. Because nothing is out there just to go. You can Google anything you want to Google.
Right.
But does it mean is it right?
Right.
You know? That's why I want that third party answer. I want to know exactly what they're thinking. Now, as far as that other question goes, what I would do is what I've done. Watch shows, start with. Watch Facebook Live. Then ask to go into an investigation, be part of it, to see what goes on. Learn the steps, what they do. Listen to everything they tell you. Even though in your mind maybe say, okay, this may not be right. This, I'm not, you know, I don't agree with this method. But that's okay. You know, just learn. That's all you need to do. You need to learn. Take a simple digital voice recorder, a flashlight. You know, start off small. Spend like I said, $150, $200 max. Starting out small. When you become with a team, then you can expand your equipment stuff. So I mean, that's what I think. Go take it slow, learn the stuff, learn how your equipment works, and just take it slow. I mean, you got your whole lifetime to do what you want to do with this field, but you just gotta learn what you need to do.
And you have a whole lifetime after this too.
Right, in the afterlife, right.
Yep.
We talked about past lives, you know, on Friday night. And there 10 years ago, I learned I had a past life and didn't know it.
Yep.
I mean, I was told I was a knight and I was part of the medieval times and I got stabbed in the back and that's how I died.
Boy.
So that's where it came to be, where how I felt in this house I'm in now is when I go up the stairs, I feel like something's coming after me from behind.
Well,
you know, But
yeah.
that's what I say. That's exactly what I think, and how new people should go about things.
Well,
So
that's very good advice. So, well, I would like Chris his video is frozen, but I think we can still hear him. Chris, are you
hey,
still
he's
there?
like this.
Yeah. I know.
I'm frozen in time.
Oh,
Move that face. I can't see that face.
too much Botox.
Hey, you didn't have a Mountain Dew. Come on, act alive.
Well,
Now my body armor's.
hang in there for a second. But as I would thank you for joining us tonight. So,
No, it's fun. It's
Yeah.
fun.
Oh,
I
yeah.
enjoy all this stuff.
Yep. So we'll definitely
Definitely.
we'll have to do this again. Like I said, hang in there
Sure.
for a little bit. We'll chat a little bit after the show. But
Okay.
thank you everybody for joining us tonight, and hopefully you guys have a good week coming up.
Yes,
Tomorrow's
stay
Monday.
safe.
Stay sane, stay healthy.
Yep. And
Yeah.
game night's on Wednesday, so we got Darin in on this. What do you
Where are
think
the
about?
questions? I didn't get so many questions.
I know. Well, you know what? Everybody was so enthralled. They were just listening. Not a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
questions. So maybe we'll have to bring you back for another hot seat.
Yeah,
Hey, that's
exactly.
fine. I'm up for it. I'm game.
So, all right, guys. Well, we're gonna call it a night, and I hope everybody takes care. And
Thanks for having me on.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Darin.
Yep. All right, guys. Have a great week.